everyone. This is a lesson I taught before exploring integrating technology as a subject and purposefully thinking. And I actually believe that I was purposely integrating this technology before thinking purposefully about it. So I'll let you know what I did and what the lesson was and how it all went. And then we'll look through an evaluation in reflection through the SAMA model. So here's my overview for the lesson. You can see I've got my achievement standard there. Ultimately, what we were trying to do with this particular lesson was transition from one project, from a vehicle project, to a bridge project in engineering. So very much a theoretical lesson that the students were working through. And I believe I was hitting those general capabilities of digital literacy through investigating, so getting the students to create and find information and then exchange that information with each other. So they were working in groups, but as well as presenting that from the front of the classroom. The other cool aspects of this was being able to discuss intellectual property and how they were referencing particular images and information, where they were collecting that from, try and find that information out. And using technology to do that, which is kind of cool. So I began in my introduction, got them in, marked the role, took about 10 minutes to say, hey, this is what we're doing today, here's my goal. And in an opening activity, I got the students to contribute to a word cloud. So students were using their BYOD devices, they navigated to my unique URL, and I gave them 3 minutes and said, can you add as many words as you can associated with bridges? Now, that's not the image that I've got to show you in just a moment, but getting them to add these different words. And the way that a word cloud works, if I'm going to show you, is the words that are submitted, that are entered more than others, appear larger. So ultimately this is a brainstorming activity, but it's an interactive brainstorming activity, as well as the students being able to see in real time what their answers or how their answers are impacting the group's collective brainstorming activity. Putting the information up there. So a good way to start the lesson, using a little bit of technology in a bit of a different way. And from the look of the students, they hadn't used this particular resource before, and so it was good to be able to share that with them at the time. Then we talked through the different types of bridges as a bit of a launching point for this is what we're going to do. And it was good. The tool was able to be used as a bit of a diagnostic. Okay, on the fly, what do they know about bridges? What is their knowledge level? And then being able to take it from there. Then into the lesson body, I took about 10 minutes to define the research boundaries. So splitting them into their groups, their table groups was what it was. And I had 6 bridges. There were only 5 groups on the day. So out of those 5, just took a little card that had a picture of a bridge on it around to each table. They selected one at random, like a magic trick. And then I wrote on the board, this is what I want you to do. Minimum research that I'm expecting from you. You've got 20 minutes to do this. I want you to put it into a PowerPoint presentation, and we need to work collaboratively on this. Now, the cool thing about this was I was able to show them one of the properties of OneDrive, Microsoft OneDrive, which they have access to as students. And they could jump into that and actually share the same PowerPoint presentation and then collaborate in that space. So it ended up being a space where they could collect their research, dump it into a collaborative PowerPoint, and then organize that information onto some different slides under those categories of name, type, span, width, year of construction, and 2 to 4 interesting facts that they could then share with the rest of the class. So interesting, different kind of use of technology in my experience, and a way of trying to engage the students over that longer period of the class. There you go, highlighting the ICT there. I forgot I had that little circle. Then continuing through the body of the lesson for about 30 minutes, we had presentation time. So each group had 2 to 3 minutes to present their information to the group, and I allowed 5 minutes so they could set up their technology. So one of the students brought their device up. They connected it to the class computer by HDMI cord, so we didn't have to fiddle around with permissions on the network. And then I was able to listen to their presentations, each group. And as I said here, formatively, I was taking notes on each group's presentation, so then I could prepare a review quiz in the next lesson to see if they could recall, to see what they had remembered, to see what they'd learnt by listening to each of these groups. And a neat little piece of technology that I use is a website called Wheel of Names. So rather than me selecting a bridge at random or using those cards again, just another little way that I could link in with technology and use technology in the classroom in this different kind of a way. Put this up here, completely random. I've got no input. Set it spinning, and then wherever it ended up, that was the group that had to present. And then the good thing about this site is that segment then gets removed, and you spin it again and choose from the next group of words. So, just in terms of the technology that I used, I think that I used the technology in the word cloud, the research task, so inviting the students to research, using OneNote, collaboratively the students were presenting, and then the Wheel of Names at the end. So we'll start at the bottom there, Wheel of Names. I think this is just a pure substitution. I think what I've done is I've said, well, rather than using this tool, we'll use an online tool, just substituting that straight out. It's random selection. It was a little bit more of a novel way of doing things. Then we'll jump up to the presentation. I feel that's a bit of augmentation. Being able to use tech in the classroom, just the monitor and their PowerPoint on their devices that they bring with them. It's just a different way for them to present. They're not standing up the front and, well, they're still standing up the front and talking, but they're able to show part of their research on the screen rather than going away and preparing a poster board that they can bring in and talk about. It's a little bit more immediate. They're able to find the information out online and then throw it up there. And then that second line there, research task, I also feel is a bit augmented by online searches and online repositories being augmented rather than going to the library and pulling out books and then photocopying and scanning and having things that are physical, actually keeping it all digital. It's not a complete redesign of the task because it's still a research task the students could complete. So I believe that one there is represented as an augmentation to, as in technology augments, assists, changes the way they're able to engage with a particular task. Now Microsoft OneDrive, as I mentioned, not only do the students get to use it, but I get to teach them this cool use of OneDrive, is that if they're sharing these files, then they're all able to collaboratively input information into the same file. They can use the same file to share information and collate and collaborate, and just, I really feel like that's a bit more of a modification to what they traditionally would have been able to do because of this collaborative online space. And again, the effect is immediate. They're able to immediately get that feedback from what they're doing. I found this information, I'm going to chuck it into the group PowerPoint presentation. I'm not having to go home and look through my World Book encyclopedia and bring it back for the next lesson. Things can definitely move a whole lot faster through this particular use of technology. And finally, that word cloud at the start, I believe it is a modification. It's not just simply an augmentation. Yes, it's a brainstorm. Yes, you can do brainstorms. A substitution would be just typing it up, I believe, as a brainstorm. An augmentation, I think, would just be able to them perhaps being able to share those different ideas online, but then the modification comes with the growing and shrinking of the words depending on how many people have suggested and contributed those words to the word cloud. So things that are more important are highlighted, are responded more predominantly, they grow larger in the word cloud. So that's where I believe that comes with modification. Now, there was nothing in this lesson in particular that I believe was a complete redesign, but perhaps that's because I've taken a lesson that I've already taught rather than thinking about a new lesson that I could potentially think and work through. But definitely thinking through this SAMA model has made me realize that I need to purposefully implement technology in these classrooms. And not just purposefully as in a, this is what we're doing, but also teach these concepts. Because the students may not know what's going on here. They may not know how to use these effectively. So I'm teaching that they're able to link in with their digital literacies, and we're able to move through a lot faster to get from task allocation through to presentation. One lesson to be able to get through all of this is it just shows how much technology can help you to be able to move through this lesson content, but also that you need to be purposeful. You can't just use it as a token.